Have you ever stared at your phone, waiting for her reply, only to see nothing? You check again, she's online, she's active, but for some reason, you don't exist in her world anymore. The silence isn't just frustrating, it stings. It makes you question your words, your worth, and your place in her life. But here's the twist, that silence is not a punishment. It's a moment of power, a chance for you to rise. In this episode of The Chill Stoic, we'll break down what to do when a woman ignores you, not to win her back, but to win yourself. With ancient Stoic wisdom and modern psychology, let's reclaim the one thing that truly matters: your peace. Part 1. When she ignores you, flip the script, not your mind. It starts innocently, a text left unread, a call that goes unanswered. At first you think it's no big deal, maybe she's just busy. But then it happens again and again. Suddenly, you're stuck in your own head, replaying conversations, reading between imaginary lines. What did I say wrong? Was I too available? Too interested? These questions swirl inside your mind, consuming your attention and confidence. But here's a powerful truth. Her silence is not a mirror of your worth. It's a test of your control. Modern psychology explains this phenomenon. According to a 2022 study from the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, emotional withdrawal activates the same neural circuits as physical pain. That's why being ignored feels like rejection. It literally hurts. But Stoic philosophy teaches something radically liberating. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Her silence doesn't define you. Your response to it does. This is where your growth begins, not with her, but within you. When you stop reacting to the silence and start observing, you take the first step toward mastery. Most men react. They double text, over-apologize, or spiral. But a Stoic man pauses. He listens, not to her, but to himself. He understands the difference between impulse and intention. If you feel the urge to reach out again, stop and breathe. Don't suppress the emotion. Acknowledge it, then redirect it. Because every time you respond from calm rather than chaos, you're strengthening a new part of yourself: emotional resilience. Research by Dr. Kristin Neff, an expert in self-compassion, reveals that those who practice emotional self-awareness during rejection experience faster recovery and greater self-esteem in future relationships. This isn't just theory, it's transformation in action. Here's the truth. Her silence might never end, she might never explain. And that's okay. What matters is that you've reclaimed your attention. You've pulled it back from a screen that stays blank and turned it inward, to where your real power lies. When she ignores you, don't fight to be noticed. Let her absence be the beginning of your presence. The world doesn't end in her inbox. It begins when you realize you never needed her reply to be complete. Part 2. Shift the focus inward. Build. Now that you've resisted the pull to chase, it's time to ask a deeper question. What will you do with the energy she no longer receives? This is your turning point. Not to distract yourself, but to redirect. Not to numb the pain, but to nourish your potential. When a woman ignores you, your first instinct might be to get her attention back, to prove your value. But the moment you chase validation, you abandon your identity. That's why you must flip the focus, not from her to another woman, but from her to your purpose. According to a 2021 publication from the Journal of Positive Psychology, individuals who actively engage in goal-oriented tasks during emotionally stressful periods report not only faster emotional recovery, but also greater long-term well-being. This isn't just about self-improvement, it's about self-return. So, what does shifting focus inward actually look like? Start small. Reclaim your mornings. Wake up without grabbing your phone. Hydrate, stretch, read, reflect. When you feed your mind before the world touches you, you strengthen your inner filter. So her silence doesn't break through so easily. Pick one thing you've neglected. Your fitness, your craft, your curiosity. Recommit to it, not as a way to distract from her, but to reconnect with you. Because the version of you that obsessed over her silence is not the version who builds legacies. Use this time to realign with your mission. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." So why waste that power scanning a feed, waiting for a message that might never come? You could be writing, lifting, creating, learning, growing. Even biologically, action overrides rumination. A study from Harvard Medical School found that consistent physical movement, like walking, strength training, or even deep breathing exercises, reduces cortisol and increases neuroplasticity. Translation: movement makes you mentally stronger. As your focus turns inward, something shifts. Desperation becomes discipline. Your silence becomes strategy. You're no longer seeking peace through her response. You're building peace through your response. And the irony? The moment you truly let go of needing her, that's when you become magnetic again. Not because you're trying to be, but because you've become someone too focused on building to beg. You don't win by reacting. You win by rebuilding, quietly, consistently, stoically. Part 3. Emotional shifts that change the game. Detachment is not indifference. There's a common misconception that detachment means you've stopped caring, that you've gone cold. But in truth, detachment doesn't kill emotion, it clarifies it. It removes the fog of obsession and lets you see what really matters. When a woman ignores you, your mind spins stories. She must not care. I must have failed. But detachment breaks this loop. It says, whatever her reasons, I still choose peace. This isn't weakness, it's mastery. Stoic thinkers like Seneca taught that emotional detachment is not about suppressing feelings. It's about understanding which feelings serve us and which enslave us. He wrote, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." That's the core of true detachment. Modern science echoes this. A 2016 study from the Journal of Emotion revealed that people who practice cognitive reappraisal, a key aspect of emotional detachment, experience more emotional clarity, less stress, and improved relationships over time. Why? Because they stop drowning in reactions and start breathing in reflection. So, how do you practice this kind of detachment? First, create space, physically and digitally. Mute her profile, stop refreshing the chat. Give yourself room to think without stimulus. Then, reframe the silence. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's your invitation to focus on what actually wants your energy, your goals, your friends, your mind. Next, speak honestly with yourself. What do you truly want from this situation? Is it her affection or your own healing? If it's clarity you seek, then silence is a gift. Because when you stop trying to fill the void, you begin to fill yourself. Detachment doesn't mean you'll never feel hurt. It means the hurt won't own you. It won't drive your decisions, your day, or your dignity. You can still care and still walk away. This is what separates men who evolve from men who stay stuck. The stuck ones react, the stoic ones reflect. They understand you cannot control how she shows up, but you can control how you grow from her absence. And when you detach, not to punish, but to protect your peace, you shift the game. You no longer play by her silence, you live by your principles. Part 4. Silent power. When she feels your absence, not your need. Sometimes, the loudest message you can send is none at all. In a culture of overcommunication, likes, comments, long texts, your silence becomes a signal, not of passive aggression, but of self-possession. It tells the world, and her, I don't chase, I choose. This is not about playing games, it's about energy. When you stop reacting, you shift the current. You no longer orbit her decisions, you return to your center, and that shift doesn't go unnoticed. Psychologists call this response interruption. A 2018 study from the Journal of Interpersonal Psychology found that when one partner breaks a predictable behavioral pattern, like suddenly withdrawing attention, it triggers heightened emotional awareness in the other. In short, when you go silent, she feels it. But it's not just silence that matters, it's what kind of man you become during that silence. If you're just waiting in the shadows, hoping she'll notice, then your silence is manipulation. But if you're genuinely building yourself, reconnecting with your values, and living fully, then your silence becomes power. The ancient Stoics believed in influence through action, not words. Marcus Aurelius didn't spend time trying to prove his worth. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's your mission here. When she scrolls and sees your absence, not bitterness, not begging, but peace, it strikes differently. It triggers a thought more powerful than any text. Did I lose something rare? And maybe she did, but by then you'll have gained something greater: your dignity, direction, and self-respect. Silence can be a wound or a weapon. It depends on what you do with it. And when you fill your own life with presence, purpose, and progress, you won't need her to fill the silence. You'll already be full. Part 5. Reclaiming identity. You were never just a response. Let's be honest. When she goes silent, a part of you wonders, was I not enough? That question haunts more men than we admit, but it's the wrong question. Because your value was never meant to be measured by someone else's reply. When your sense of self depends on someone else's attention, you hand them control. That's not love. That's surrender. And a Stoic man does not surrender his identity to silence. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, if walking away makes you look heartless or cold, so be it. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be aligned. And sometimes, silence is the only mirror you need to see yourself clearly again. Modern behavioral science supports this. In a 2019 meta-analysis in the Journal of Social and Personality Psychology, individuals who built self-concept clarity after emotional disconnection were not only more confident but also more resilient in future relationships. Why? Because they stopped defining themselves through others' validation. You are not her unread message. You are not her pause. You are not her confusion. You are a complete man with stories to write, people to serve, strength to build, and peace to protect. When you stop shrinking for attention, you begin expanding into purpose. And that expansion becomes your healing. She might never come back. She might. But by then, you'll be in a place so whole, so grounded, that her return won't be necessary. It will be optional. Because you've remembered. You were never just a response. You were always the source. You no longer wake up hoping she texted. You wake up ready to meet your morning. You no longer rehearse imaginary conversations. You speak boldly with your actions. You no longer check who watched your stories. You live a story worth watching. Thank you for joining this journey of silence, of strength, and of self. If a woman is ignoring you right now, remember, this is not an end. It's a beginning. A chance to turn from noise to knowing, from need to growth. You don't win by fixing her, you win by finding you again. If this message spoke to your heart, it's because your soul is ready for more. Subscribe to The Chill Stoic and join the men who rise in silence, in strength, and in peace.